It wasn't a house, nor a room where the weight of the world settled. Rather, Olivia found herself in a place she often sought refuge, the old library on the edge of the town, tucked away between forgotten streets. The scent of worn leather and ancient pages filled the air as she ran her fingers over the spines of books that seemed to whisper stories of their own. There was a stillness here, a silence that soothed the static noise in her mind. The soft creak of the wooden floor beneath her feet echoed faintly, almost as if the place was breathing with her, matching the slow rhythm of her own breath. She'd come here seeking answers, or maybe escape. She wasn't quite sure anymore. The daylight outside had dimmed, a subtle shade of twilight creeping through the narrow window, casting a faint glow on the dust motes suspended in the air. Olivia's heart had carried the weight of something unseen for too long, a heaviness that clung to her bones. The world had moved on, but her past followed her like a shadow she could never quite escape. She pressed her palm to her chest, as if trying to feel the pulse beneath. "It's still beating," she reminded herself. "I'm still here." But sometimes, it felt like she wasn't. As Olivia moved deeper into the library, the atmosphere seemed to shift. The sound of her breath became louder in her ears, the scent of dust more vivid, and the coolness of the air more present against her skin. She pulled an old book from the shelf, its cover worn and faded, like a memory on the edge of being forgotten. The weight of it in her hands was familiar, comforting. As she opened the pages, the smell of aged paper filled her lungs, bringing with it a strange sense of nostalgia, a memory she couldn't quite place. In her mind, the pages of the book mirrored her life, fragmented pieces of a story once whole, now scattered and torn. The wind outside began to pick up, rattling the windows, as though urging her to listen, to pay attention to the shifting energy around her. Olivia inhaled deeply, feeling the air fill her chest, expanding then gently releasing, like the ebb and flow of the tide. Her heartbeat synchronized with the rhythm, slowing and steady, as if each beat was an anchor pulling her back into herself, guiding her towards something deeper. Her senses began to awaken, the gentle pressure of the worn pages against her fingertips, the faint sound of wind rustling through the leaves outside, the subtle scent of lavender that lingered in the distance. And in that moment, something shifted. The world around her blurred, softened, as if the edges of reality were beginning to dissolve. She was no longer just in the library, no longer bound by the weight of her memories. She was moving, drifting, sinking into something much deeper. Olivia's breath became the metronome of her descent, in, out, slowly, gently, like the pull of the ocean on the shore. Each breath was an invitation to let go, to release the tension she carried in her shoulders, in her mind. The library, the books, the world outside, it all seemed to fade as her focus narrowed on the sensation of her breath, on the beating of her heart, on the stillness that was beginning to settle within her. And with each breath, the grip of the past loosened just a little more. Memories once vivid, like broken glass shards, began to soften around the edges. She saw them, not as moments of pain, but as reflections of what had been. They drifted by like clouds in the distance, growing smaller, lighter, further away. "It's safe now," a voice whispered softly within her. It wasn't the voice of the wind or the books, but her own from deep inside. "You're safe now." The air in the library became thicker, almost tangible, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. It was as though time had paused, holding her in this space where she could finally rest. Her body, which had been tense for so long, began to melt into the chair she had unknowingly sat down in. Her hands rested in her lap, fingers lightly brushing the edges of the book. As Olivia drifted deeper, the subtle guidance of the voice wove through the narrative of her thoughts. The words echoed in her mind, restructuring her perceptions. The past is like a dream you once had, now fading into the distance. Softer, lighter, smaller. Each phrase drew her deeper into a trance, shifting her focus away from the past and into the present moment, where she could begin to heal. The feeling of abandonment, once sharp and overwhelming, was now just an echo, growing quieter with each breath she took. It became something she could observe without becoming overwhelmed, a distant figure on the horizon of her mind. "It's not here," her inner voice reminded her gently. "It's just a memory, and you are more than your memories." The voice continued to guide her, suggesting new possibilities, new ways of seeing herself. "You are not alone," the voice said softly, wrapping around her like the warmth of a summer breeze. "You have always been enough. You are whole, complete, and capable of love, just as you are." In that moment, something shifted within Olivia. The tangled web of emotions that had once held her captive began to unwind thread by thread. She saw the pattern now, the way her mind had replayed the same scenes over and over again, but she also saw the way out. Every breath you take is a step forward, a step towards freedom, towards healing. The voice within her guided her to replace the old patterns with new ones. You no longer need to carry the weight of abandonment. You are enough as you are. The world is waiting for you, open, inviting, full of connection. You are safe here, in this moment, and in every moment that follows. Olivia's breathing slowed even further, her body now fully relaxed, as the realization settled into every part of her being. The past no longer held power over her. She could feel the change, subtle but profound, taking root deep within her mind. As the library came back into focus, as the sound of the wind outside grew louder, she knew she was different, lighter, more grounded. She placed the book back on the shelf, but it no longer held the weight it once did. The story of her past was complete, and she was ready to write a new one. And so as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, know that you too are safe, that healing is already beginning, and that with each step you take, you move closer to the peace that is always waiting for you deep within.